Hey, welcome to Thirsty Amigos. Thanks for joining me on this episode. This is Reese. I'm going to be going over a video I shot with a conference that I attended down in Tequila in 2009 with our good friend Tom. Tom and I went down there on a week-long trip for a conference all about going over the tequila process from start to finish, even making your own tequilas. The first day we came was Sunday. This is Sunday afternoon. We were at Tequilas del Senor. You can see the rain was really coming down bad. It's the rainy season, and man, it rains hard. So we had to come into, they had a whole thing spread planned for us, but they had to move it indoors while it was raining. So we were into the barrel room here, where our good friend Bernardo there is talking about, there's Tom, going over the tequilas that Tequilas del Senor makes there at their distillery. This barrel room was really awesome. It smelled really good in there. If you've ever been to a barrel room, it's just, the aroma. I wish they could bottle that up because it is such a good smelling thing. It's awesome. And their barrel room's really well done. And the tequila that they make there, they make their own, and they make some contract brands too. Dos Lunas was one of them at the time, but I believe that they don't make them anymore. And since it was raining so much outside, they brought the entertainment inside. They had a whole festival planned for us outside, but of course the rain put a damper on that. So here's some of the entertainment. Let's listen. Now we're in the office of Manuel Garcia, the owner of the Tequilas del Senor. He was nice enough to let us come into his office, see all the awards that they've won for the tequilas and certifications and everything. He was such a gracious host. It was awesome. I mean, from the time we stepped off the bus from the airport, checked in the hotel, till we got to the distillery that evening, it was just hit the ground running and go, and this really set the tone for the week, and this was awesome. Showing some of the bottles. There's Herencia Historico, really good tequila they make. It's a 12-year Sorella processed tequila where they keep filling the barrels and they empty them, but it's 12 years old. Here's a lot of tequilas they make. They make some liqueurs, some flavored ones. And then day 2 was the beginning of the conference, so that was like a welcome party that night. But Monday morning here we're at the World International Tequila Conference, and one of the highlights for the conference was a brand being born, if you will. This is TAVI. He's the man in the jacket signing paperwork there. He was starting his own brand, TAVI Tequila. He's a Canadian that he's allergic to other alcohols, and tequila was the only alcohol that he could drink without having an allergic reaction to. So he made his own tequila. So pretty smart. So he did some promos. So they were the beginning of the brand. They were doing a lot of promo stuff there. He had his own film crew there. The lady in the colorful dress is, at the time in 2009, was the Queen of Tequila, and they were doing some promo shots there. We got to take some pictures with them and everything. It was kind of cheesy but kind of cool at the same time. So it was pretty neat. And then that evening on Monday, we got to go tour the CRT. The CRT is the regulating body, the certified regulating body that certifies tequila to be tequila, basically. And this is one of the rare instances that I don't think a lot of people get to go to the actual building where they have the CRT. So this was a special treat for us, at least at the time. That's a huge table where all the people meet. That table was enormous. It was crazy. And we got to go in there, had a brief little history of tequila, what they kind of do, what they test for and everything. And then they were going to split us in two groups. I think there was like 12 or 15 of us this night. So we went up to the rooftop. They have a little makeshift rooftop bar up there where we had some welcome cocktails. And we got to mingle a little bit, get to know each other a little bit better. We haven't been there very long, so we had all walks of life there. Some people were there to start their own brand of tequila. Tom and I were there to learn more about tequila and, dive in fully to see what it's all about. There's Dave Reese in the blue jacket pointing at us. Now there I am, pre-gray hair and everything, before I had gray hair. And there's Tom right there. David Reese was the man who put on the whole conference, and unfortunately he passed away a few years ago, so rest in peace, Dave. We really appreciate that tour that you gave us. It was really awesome. So this is inside the CRT. They test all the bottles of tequila that are coming out of all the distilleries. They test them to make sure there's no harmful stuff in them that can poison the consumer. They want to make sure that they are safe. And they had all kinds of interesting lab equipment in there testing for all kinds of things. The purity of this, to see what alcohols were in there. I don't think I have it on this video, but they had a whole locker room full of all these tequila bottles and liqueurs ready to be tested by them. And then, like I said, in here, not sure, I can't remember what they were doing in here in this one, but in the next room, they were testing the soils of the tequila, where the tequila plants are grown, the agave plants. And I was just videotaping some of the stuff. Probably shouldn't have. I was in the back of the room, but it was pretty interesting. All the little lab equipment, like I said, doing their little thing. All the robotic arms, pulling this and that, testing this. They had centrifuges there. They had it looked like a full-on laboratory in some of these areas. So it was a real treat to get to be able to go through and see these rooms. Like I said, I don't think a lot of people get to do that when they tour the tequila area. There's the soils. I was talking about the really rich red soil that some of the tequila areas have. So they were testing those. Here's more laboratory type of equipment. It looks like they got the mixer so they can add stuff to it and separate it. So our part of that tour was done. So we went back up to the rooftop. Big billboard with Pueblo Viejo tequila. There's the bachelors without tequila, and then there's the bachelors having a good time with their women with the tequila. So, guess gotta have tequila, have a good time. Makes sense to me. So, like I said, it's a rainy season there, and this is Guadalajara, and the rain was coming. It just kept coming and going. But yeah, the intensity of the rain was that's what I was in awe of. It could just rain really hard. Here in Colorado, we're not used to that intensity of a downpour. That was Tom. We're just taking it in, taking pictures between our sessions. Okay, here's day 3. Here's our first distillery tour toward the town of Tequila. This is Tres Mujeres. Here the guys are loading up the piñas of the agave plant. They're all chopped in half, and they're loading them into the oven to be cooked. And there you can see on the left there, that oven is full. These ovens are huge. These guys work really hard to load these ovens. Those are the agave plants. Even though they're cut in half, they're really dense and really heavy. They're no small feat taking that out and then loading it up. So hats off to them because they work hard. It is surprising how heavy those can be.
Where it shreds it and crush it, yeah. And then they get the juice and the extract, and that's where it goes into the...
like the pineapple, you know?
Yes.
Pineapple.
Yeah. It's nice to see that operating. That's a lot of loading. All right, you're on.
Here's the Tequila Traveler, Mark, our good friend. Check out his YouTube channel, the Tequila Traveler. Sorry, he was helping. He was jumping in, helping out while we were waiting to go out into the fields to see the harvest of an agave plant. So yeah, he was getting some tips from everybody how to hold it and everything, and how to load it. There's a certain way you can load them, and you maximize your storage in there for the agaves to fit.
Good job, Mark.
You already worked out. How you
No,
work
actually,
out
you know what? It's funny because when I run in the jungle, I pick up rocks. I run with rocks in my hand, and I'm always running. I love it. So this is a lot.
Yeah, I love this smell.
You seeing it though?
Here is a look inside the oven that they're loading. The other one was full, but you can see the other one was full, and you can see how big this oven. This is a traditional brick oven, how they cook it. So there's different ways of cooking the agave. This is like a traditional way, slow going. You can see an autoclave right there to the right. It's like a high pressure cooker, so it's a little bit faster. But there's cooked agaves right there, fresh out of the oven. Probably the one they just unload or they're loading. So this guy, his job after the agave is cool because it's real hot after they've been cooking for a few days in the oven. He's going to shred them, and they're going to get all shredded up. And then what that's going to do is help release all the quote unquote juice from the agave plant that's left in there. So yeah, he just pops it in the shredder, shreds it, and then later on I got some video where it's putting it down there, it's washing it at the same time to maximize getting all the juice out of it. There's the collected juice from the agave plants. I say juice, it's just the agual that is collected. And then from there it's going to go to the fermentation plant, or tanks. So here it is being washed, and it's going to be collected. And then, like I said, taken to the what am I trying to... Sorry, guys. Look at all that. That looks... Oh, and the smell was incredible. Freshly baked agave is just... It smells delicious, and it tastes really good. It tastes like a really sweet potato. It's once you taste it, it's unreal. You never forget that flavor. Here's David Reese again, and you have to excuse me. I forgot that's the owner of Tres Mujeres Distillery there on Dave's left. And then we headed out to the field. Here's our humidor for this little session. They are responsible for harvesting the agave, the Jima De Agave. So he's going to sharpen up his tool, which is called a koa. So he uses a file. It's just a flat. If you take a flat piece of metal, round it off, and it's super sharp. It's amazing how sharp this is. And they'll pick a plant. Good distilleries will pick a plant that's 7 to 8 years old. and it's ready to be harvested. So they cut the root ball out, and then they drag it out, and then they'll start chopping the leaves off. And those leaves are called pencas. So you're going to chop all the pencas off, all the leaves, and that's going to leave you with the pineapple, they call it, because it looks like a pineapple. That's what the guys were loading into the oven earlier. So they look like pineapples that are harvested. So he's just going to go around and chop off the leaves. And part of this session, we each got to try to chop some leaves off ourselves. So he's just cleaning up the bottom part so we don't hurt ourselves. They're really sharp spine or sticker, spike, whatever you want to call it, at the end of the agave plant, thorn. And so if you get poked with that, it can hurt and start to swell up. So what you do, you cut off part of the leaf and you rub the sap in it, just like an aloe plant.
All right, come on. This is the picture. Okay. That's how you do it. Just let it fly. So this way or this way? That way you let it fly.
Here's Mark about ready to chop his foot off. They were all afraid he's going to chop his foot off, but he was just doing it for a photograph for his bar. And speaking of which, he's the founder of Cellulita Fish Taco Bar down in Cellulita, Mexico. So someday I hope to go down there and check out their world famous fish tacos.
Just get ready to go. We'll run them through as fast. David, what's the byproduct of the leaves? Okay, what do they do with that?
They actually let those go back in the fields. They'll grind them up and it goes back in the natural compost.
Okay.
Here's Tom. Here's our friend Tom, chopping some leaves, making it look effortless. Of course, yeah. And then
You don't want to work too hard, do you?
I didn't want to say
there's our good friend Rick.
He's going to turn it for us. Dale vuelta. Next, he's going to turn it over for us to have more. Okay, there we go. Just turn it over. All right. Reese, you're up. Could you clean it up a little bit for us? Yes, sir.
And now it's my turn to chop some leaves off. Wasn't holding it the best, but that koa is so sharp. It's just really effortless.
All right. Music background, glamour. Oh.
Perfect.
Y hay que cortar inmediatamente. The problem with that it's quite dirty also. So
Okay, now we're prepping the agave even further. Some distillers will chop the leaves down even further, so there's no green on the agave at all, which is makes it real bitter. Some of the green on there, and then you cut out the cajote, which is the reproductive parts of the plant. If you don't cut that out, it can really impart a really bitter flavor to your tequila. So places like some of the bigger distilleries will say that mass-produce tequilas, they'll harvest young agaves, not cut that part out, and then fix it in the end with some chemicals, the tasting, the flavors. So they rush it. If a good distillery like that will cut it out, they'll shave it down real good, cut it in half, and chop those out. Here we are. This is the fermentation tank and the still room where they distill it. So they use stainless steel fermentation tanks. And here is fermentation up top. So it looks like these are being heated with heat, but what it is, it's the liquid they collected after they shred the agave, and they use yeast. Some will use champagne yeast or wild yeast naturally from the air to help get their distillation or their fermentation, going. So there is no heat at all heating these up. It's naturally doing this. The yeast is converting the sugars, or the starches to sugar, to alcohol. So they're feeding off of it, and as it does that, it makes it boil. It looks like it's boiling. So it creates all these little layer on top, and it bubbles and stuff. It's pretty neat. That one, this place, they don't put the shredded agave with it, so you get to see it in action. And here's one of the stills. By law, you have to distill tequila twice, 2 times distilled. Some places do it 3 times. I'm not sure of any 4 times because you'll start stripping flavor out. And now we're going to, staying in the town of Tequila, we're going to El Tequileno, one of my favorite tequilas. It was such a good day for me to go to this place because I'm a big fan of this tequila. Their Blanco is one of the best. I'll put it up against anything out there. And then, so they weren't producing any tequila this day, but they were making repairs to their pot stills, and it's all copper. Copper is preferred for flavor. There's Tony Salas. He is the master distiller and son of the owner, Don Jorge Salas Cuervo. We got to meet him. You'll see him in a little bit. And something that El Tequiliano's doing is they are taking their leftover fibers and composting them. So they'll take the fibers after they shred their agave, put them in these rows and pile them up, and they naturally start to decompose. And he was showing us some of the soil, the dirt. It's real rich, black, and I don't know, it just looked like really good potting soil. And then they had a lunch for us that day set up. So we had lunch at the grounds of El Tequiliano. I know now they have a boutique hotel on site, but that was not in the works when we were there in 2009. Some of the old Tahona stones from back in the day sitting out there. They had a nice spread. Really nice grounds here. It was beautiful. It was in the shade, so that was nice. Took a little stroll down the streets of Tequila. I'll let you watch some of this. Here's some of the group that we were with.
Roberto dice no más tequila for Jennifer.
It's the main church in Tequila. And on this day, they were getting ready for this was September 16th, so they were getting ready for the real independence of Mexico. They were all getting all decorated up and everything. There's another little church off across from the other one. It's real beautiful.
Wow, it's beautiful. It's nice. I'm not sure which one this one is.
And there's Jose Cuervo. We got to go into the shop and everything, look around. We didn't go on an actual tour of Casa Cuervo. They have a tequila museum. I'm not sure what it looks like nowadays, but It was decent. It had a lot of old bottles, old labels, and stuff. It was kind of an interesting little thing. I'm glad we went. It was like a dollar to get in or something. It was real cheap, but it's worth it if you're there, if you go to the tequila. Day 4 of the conference, we had presentations. This is Carlos Camarena. He is the master distiller of El Tesoro and Tapatio tequila, some of my favorites. Miles, this is Miles from Charbet Distillery. He, with Carlos Camarena, distilled his first tequila that he's ever distilled. Miles has the distinct, whatever to say, that he has distilled all 5 major spirits, tequila being the last one. So he was real proud of that. And we got to taste it with him. And let me tell you, that Charbet tequila is amazing. Here we are at dinner. We went to a really awesome restaurant there. Huge platters of food and live entertainment. It was a fun night. Just to let loose and hang out and eat good food and have some good margaritas and beer. Day 5. Tour of tequila, Siete Leguas. Now, Siete Leguas is one of my favorite tequilas. Their Blanco is outstanding. One of my favorite, top 5 Blancos of all time. And here this is the Tahona room. So they have their mules running in a circle, but they take really good care of them. But they're pulling the Tahona stone, which is crushing their agaves after they bake or roast them in the oven. So here they're using the traditional tequila or Tahona stone to extract the juice out of the liquid out of the agaves. You see the shredder right there. That's only to break up the piñas real quick so they can smash them a little bit easier. But it's not like the last one where it was a complete shredding operation. So Siete Leguas does a mixture. Part Tahona. You look at all that liquid coming down there from the agave plants. Oh, delicious. And then from there, they'll take it and put it in the fermentation tanks. At the time we were there, we couldn't film or anything into the distillation and fermentation area at this particular. They have 2 distilleries, one down from each other. We'll go to the other one and show you there. This one was operating, but we couldn't show you. They wouldn't let us take pictures inside, past this room anyway. And they use the stone ovens, traditional stone ovens, which is part of their flavor profile, which is delicious. So here we walked to the other distillery. Like I said, it's just down the street from the other one. And this one, they can unload the piñas straight from the field after they harvest them and put them down in these holes there in the ground. And then those go directly into the ovens below. And then we had time to taste some Siete Leguas tequilas that they had on hand, which I highly recommend all their tequilas. It's so good. Delicious. Oh, and there's our host of Tequila Siete. You have the Master Distiller Arturo, and then you have Juan Fernando Gonzalez. He's the son of the owner, the original owner. And they were the best hosts. Oh my gosh, they opened up everything. We got to go in the barrel room here. We signed a barrel with all of us in the World International Tequila Convention 2009. And then after Siete Leguas, we went up to the Highlands to La Altena, which is Carlos Camarena's distillery, where they make Tapatio, El Tesoro. They make the Charbet is made there, and Ocho, Tequila Ocho, which is all of those are just delicious. If you get a chance, I highly recommend all of those. So Carlos gave us a tour of his facility, which is really old. I can't remember. They use wood. There's their wooden fermentation tanks, all natural. They use natural yeast. Then there's some of the, I believe those are the holding tanks after they distill. And you can see some of their brick ovens. Underneath there, next to Bernardo, is the barrel room underneath. And like I was saying, or I was going to say, they didn't get electricity, I think, until, I can't, don't quote me on this, but like mid-century of the 1900s, did they start getting electricity at the actual distillery here. It's an old distillery. Here's their brick ovens. They do traditional brick oven cooking. There's some agaves from the field. And I'll show you in a second. You can see that their agaves are really ripe, like really, really ripe. To quote Carlos Camarena, he likes his agaves where they're bleeding this red. There's a name for it. I'll have to look it up. Where they're bleeding red, he calls it. There's the Queen of Tequila. Hello, Queen. And his agaves are very mature, 7, 8, 9, but he only takes them if they're mature. He doesn't harvest any before their time. But he says, to quote him, it's like a ripe banana. The brown spots of a banana, once it starts over ripening, are really sweet, really sugary. And that's how he likes his agaves, extra sweet. So the Brix level, which is the measurement of sugar in the agave, are always really high on his agaves. There's Carlos giving us the tour. There's the man right there. And here he is handing out samples of freshly baked agave, which is, oh, you have to try it once in your life if you're a tequila fan. It is such an amazing experience. It's a flavor profile. Once you taste a roasted agave, you'll always pick it out in a blanco. It's just such a unique flavor. Like I said, having kids, there was a sweet potato. This sounds funny. A sweet potato baby food that tasted really similar to a fresh roasted agave, and it was sweet potato baby food. I can't remember the brand. I'll have to see if I can track it down, and I'll put it in the comments. And here's the Tahona El Tesoro tequila. Like I said, they make a few here, but El Tesoro is one of the brands. Their sister brand is Tapatio. El Tesoro uses the Tahona crushed agave liquid juice that they collect, and then Tapatio uses the shredded agave. So they both use brick ovens, but it's just the manufacturing is a little bit different. So El Tesoro is Tahona and Tapatio is shredded.
This style.
If you want to take a picture of two mules next to the deer, there you go.
Nice. That's funny. That's carved in a solid piece of a very specific location, way the hell in the center of Mexico where they produce this thing.
You can tell it's been well used too.
Oh yes.
So this is no dog and pony show. This is it.
No, this is the Kona.
Right. But you know what's terrible about the strong beer? Strong beer just is right here.
Some more of the distillery. Like I said, it's really, really old. It's from the 30s, I believe. Here's the shredder for the Tapatio brand they make. It used to be Mexico only, but they made a deal with Charbet to import it into the U.S. I think around 2012, maybe 2011, somewhere around there. So that was nice to start getting it in there to the U.S. and it is delicious. You get like a 1 liter bottle for, I think the Blanco is like $30, if that, $25-$30. It's really good. Here's our old boiler. It's really super old. More of the wood ferment. You can see all that movement into the fermentation vats, and that's just natural. That's nothing's heating it up. It's just the sugars and being converted to alcohol by the yeast. Here's the copper stills at La Altena, El Tesoro, Tapatio, and here's, so they're doing a run right now. Here it is coming off the still fresh. We get a taste a little, and we're doing it the traditional way with some goat horns. He's gonna pull some goat horns out, for us to drink it fresh out of the still. Oh, it was delicious. And he's going over how that still right there and the other still are just, they're not bolted together. They're using old clamps. They're so old, and that gives the El Tesoro and Tapatio a really unique flavor profile.
Nuts and bolts, bolts and nuts, but these are not. And in the past, now they have a structure seal. In the past, it used to be the same of agave. This kind of steels were stopped being produced about 4 years ago. 4 years ago, everybody decided to use nuts and bolts. So this is just clamps to get together one piece with the other, with the other, with the other. No bolts. Okay, again, very briefly, because I explained. This will be right now still very high in alcohol. So it's about 60% alcohol.
60?
60.
Yeah,
It's good to drink.
we drank some 55 today.
No,
I know 55 is not.
This is about 50, 59. You have to see the number. Those are the glasses.
So it goes out into the bucket.
So here we are. He's pouring it into the goat horns, and there was a guy who was selling them on our way out of the tour, so I bought one, of course, and soaked it in the El Tesoro Blanco to help cure it. And yeah, I use it every now and then. Here's the barrel room. This is a huge barrel that he's resting reposadoing. Because of the size of the barrel, it can't be an añejo. And so he was resting it, and I haven't followed up. He was going to call it a Gran Reposado because the size of the barrel, and he was going to go really long with the length of time in the barrel. I know Reposados traditionally 1 or 2 months to just under a year, but it's all the size of the barrel that determines it too. So it could be 6 years, 7 years old, but if it's in a huge barrel like that, it's just a Reposado. So after the tour, we had a little meet and greet here. We went to dinner after this. I don't think I got any of that. I'll have to see. But here he shared all his tequilas with that. The one that Tom had in his hand there that's unlabeled there, that has no label on it, is a 7-year-old tequila. Well, thanks for joining us. This is the end of the tour. And I think that's it for now. Thanks, guys. Salud.